This is the Leitmotif and Movement Podcast, a father and son's journey into the vast worlds of music. I'm your host, Mike Ficklin, and joining me on this epic musical journey is my son,
Michael Ficklin.
This show is dedicated to the discussion of music and introducing Michael to music from the past and present. We discuss music mainly from the genres of rock, hard rock, and heavy metal. We also, from time to time, dive into film and video game scores, and we sprinkle in some surprises along the way. Michael, what you been listening to this week?
I haven't really listened to much this week other than the assignment.
No? Haven't tried anything else at all?
Nope.
Well, I happen to know that you have listened to some new stuff. We'll get into that here in just a minute. I checked out the new record from Devil Driver titled Strike and Kill. It's the 11th studio record from the American heavy metal band. This thing is just relentlessly heavy and groovy, consistently assaulting your senses. It's everything I hoped for in the new Devil Driver record, man. It's so good. Especially if you like to just have your face melted. I know for a fact that you heard me through your bedroom wall when I was rocking that on Friday.
I did.
Standout songs for me, Dig Your Own Grave, Dead in the Water, Strike and Kill, Summoning Shadows, and Oath of Iron. Just an awesome face-melting listen. I also checked out the new record from If These Trees Could Talk, titled The Hidden Hand. This is their 4th studio record. If These Trees Could Talk is an American instrumental post-rock band, if you've never heard them before. This was a cinematic, breathtaking journey, just begging you to listen to this in one sitting without pausing. Get your best headphones, kick back and relax, close your eyes, let If These Trees Could Talk take you on just an amazing journey. And I really feel that way about their entire discography. This was such an amazing listen. Standout tracks for me include Moon Machine, Silence Between Mountains Part 1 and Part 2, and I believe it's pronounced Metonia. Good stuff. I also checked out the new Eveale Under Fire record titled Villainous. I checked out the new live record from God is an Astronaut titled Live at Hellfest. That was a fun listen. Another one of those really cinematic listens. Good stuff. I also continued on with my journey through the Metallica Reload remastered box set. I am through the first 6 CDs now. Got 5 more to go, but I've now made it through not only the album proper, but I've listened to all of the demos, and it's a lot of fun listening to the demos because you kind of hear the growth of the song from its impetus to its final version. It's fun listening through all that stuff. And I continued a little bit of my Black Sabbath journey. I listened to the Live at Hammersmith Odeon record. This is a recording, I believe, from when Ronnie James Dio reunited with the band. Excellent listen. I love Ronnie James Dio anyway. I love that era of Black Sabbath. Just perfection. The other thing that actually Michael and I and my wife all went to experience earlier, I guess I should say late last week, we went to go see the Nova Twins, Spirit Box, and Evanescence in concert. And Michael, this is what I was referring to when I said that I know for a fact you did hear some new stuff, because you definitely heard some Evanescence stuff that you didn't know, and you really didn't know their stuff off of their new record that they played, but you got to hear some of that. You also got to hear a bunch of Spirit Box stuff that you hadn't heard, because the only stuff you know so far is Tsunami Sea. And of course, we got exposed to the Nova Twins, which none of the three of us actually really knew very much about. Let's start a little bit with the Nova Twins, Michael. What was your impression of them?
My exact reaction.
Silence. Look, I know your mom wasn't very impressed with them either. I had not heard of the band before. I decided I was going to try and listen to some of their stuff earlier in the day before we went to the show. And they were billed as a British rock band, but I don't hear rock in their sound at all. It actually feels a little bit more like electronic pop music, or maybe noise music. I wasn't impressed with what I had heard on the records. So I was kind of looking forward to hearing how it translated to the live setting. And unfortunately, when we saw them live, their sound was just not good. It was mixed really, really muddy. It was really low in volume levels. It was hard to hear what they were singing, what was being played. It just sounded like noise, which is unfortunate, because I truly did want to give them a chance. It just wasn't working. Is that kind of how you felt, Michael?
Yeah, it was very muddy sound-wise,
Yeah, just
but
hard to
still,
hear.
I wasn't impressed at all.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Maybe if we were to see them in a different sort of setting, maybe we'd be able to hear them a little bit better. Spirit Box came on next, and I was so excited for Spirit Box. I've never had the chance to see them live before, and I thought they were really, really good live. They were really tight. I thought Courtney LaPlante sounded fantastic when I could hear her. Unfortunately, they weren't suffering from muddy sound more than it was the mix. Her vocals were mixed really low, so at times the guitars were kind of overpowering her vocals. And even then, I thought their volume levels were too low. And look, I understand that there's this, unwritten rule about not being able to out, volume the headlining act. But give them a little bit of a break here. You gotta allow for people to hear them. What's the point of having them on the tour if you're not gonna give them a fair shake? So, I was able to hear them well enough myself, but my wife wasn't able to hear them very well. What did you think, Michael?
I could hear it very well. I disagree with your statement, but
You thought you could hear Courtney LaPlante fine?
yeah.
Okay. Did you have any particular favorite songs that they played?
I forgot what the song name was. Perfect Soul.
Okay. Yeah, I thought their live version of that was fantastic. They sounded really, really good on that. I also thought that Soft Spine went off fantastic. In fact, you and I saw a pit open up in the crowd to the right of us, which was awesome. I thought Circle With Me sounded great live. I thought Holy Roller sounded great live. I actually loved Courtney LaPlante dedicating that song to her grandmother. Yeah, I would though like to see them in a different setting, like maybe an indoor setting similar to where we saw Haken there at the Egyptian Room, because I think with that kind of a band, you gotta have the loud amps in the face. You know, I want my face melted. So, and of course, the headlining act was Evanescence, and this was actually the second time that I'd seen them. I saw them on tour for Fallen, and they were phenomenal on that tour. I was really excited to see them again. I know that my wife was really excited. She had never seen them live before. Michael was excited. They put on an amazing show. They were absolutely fantastic. The set was fantastic. I thought their stage show was awesome. They had like LEDs set up on the stage. It looked like she and other members of, or Amy Lee and other members of the band were able to walk it up and down this LED stage. It was pretty cool.
Those steps.
Was it steps? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it was. Because of how they were, they were kind of stepping up every time they would go on there.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't really tell. It looked to me like that they were just walking straight up it, but it might have been steps.
Either that, or there's like, I think there was a part of steps somewhere in that.
Okay. I know that at one point they had the guitarist and the drummer on like a riser, and they lifted them up above the stage, which was really cool. Michael, any particular favorite songs from Evanescence?
My Immortal.
Yeah, dude. Let's talk about that for a second. I think Amy Lee shines when she does the piano ballads, when it's just her and the piano. Her voice is fantastic, and it works so well when she does these piano ballads. And yeah, I agree, My Immortal was one of the highlights of the night. But I think, for me, my favorite song of the night comes from their latest record, Sanctuary, a song called Forever Without You. It actually made me tear up. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, and her little story about what the song was about before she went into it was equally fantastic. Just a gorgeous song, and it translated so well live. And it's this really huge vocal performance from her on the record, and she just nailed it live. I mean, she was on point. Also really enjoyed hearing songs like Wasted on You, which was awesome live. I love that song anyway. I love her vocal performance on that song. I'm not a big fan of their second record. It just never caught on with me. But hearing some of those songs live, it gave the songs a whole different kind of energy and gave me a new respect for them. So it was awesome hearing her play some of those songs. When she mentioned that album was turning 20 years old this year, I was like, oh, holy I'm old, man. Michael, anything else from you on the concert experience?
I do not have anything else.
Would you see any of those bands again live?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to see, for sure, Spirit Box and Evanescence again. They were fantastic.
I'm good off the Nova Twins.
All right, Michael, anything else before we move on?
Nope.
All right. So now we're going to get into the art of discovery. This is our segment where we take a listen to a few bands that are either unsigned or just not getting the love we feel they deserve. We've got a fantastic selection of songs for you this time around. We're going to kick things off with a post-rock band from Nantes, France. This is We Left in June with their song Spirals. And once again, that was We Left in June with their song Spirals. That comes from their EP titled Hidden Place. You can purchase their music from their Bandcamp page, weleftinjune.bandcamp.com. Michael, what'd you think about that little bit of cinematic journey? Enjoy that, did you? I saw you headbanging over there. Good stuff. All right, our next song comes from a melodic black metal band from the Woodland Realm. This is Eveale with their song The Final Quest. And once again, that was Eveale with their song The Final Quest. That comes from their album Enter the Woodland Realm. You can purchase their music from their Bandcamp page, eveale.bandcamp.com. Michael, I love that song, dude. It's freaking epic, especially there towards the end.
Another great song.
Hell yeah, dude. That whole album is so good, dude. You really should check it out. All right. Our final song comes from a new gaze band out of Kansas City, Missouri. This is Endrid with their song Corruptor. And once again, that was Endrid with their song Corruptor. That comes from their EP titled Corruptor. You can purchase their music from their Bandcamp page, endridband.bandcamp.com. Michael, I love that song. That reminds me a great deal of Deftones. What'd you think?
Song, I could agree.
Outstanding stuff. Again, this is another one of those situations, Michael, where you really need to hear the whole EP, dude. So good. All right. Michael, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, well, we would like to thank all of the bands that we got to feature on this week's Art of Discovery segment. If you would like to be featured on the segment, feel free to reach out to us via email at lightmovepod@gmail.com or on one of our various social media accounts. If we dig what we hear, we would love to play your music on the show. All right, Michael, now it's time to get into our main topic. This time, we're breaking down Protest the Heroes' 2008 release, Fortress. I know you've been looking forward to this one, bro. Fortress is the second studio album from Protest the Hero. It was released on January 29th of 2008 by Vagrant Records in the United States and Underground Operations in Canada. Fortress was recorded at Silo Studios in Hamilton, Ontario during the summer of 2007. The album's 10 tracks are broken down into 3 movements, separated by piano interludes, and runs at approximately 41 minutes in length. The band described the sound of Fortress as being less poppy and more technical metal influence than their previous record, Kazaya. Fortress does not revolve around a single concept, unlike the previous album. Instead, it's more akin to goddess worship in the tradition of Robert Graves, according to the band's then bassist and lyricist, Arif, and I am not going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't want to butcher it. He stated, quote, "It has to do with goddess worship and how there's been this degendering of the Lord and Savior and the suppressed feminine. A lot of it is based in Genghis Khan and old Irish mythology about the rise and fall of the goddess of the forest. The theme can be more appreciated by more people. If I had to reduce it to its simplest form, the concept is about the re-emerging of goddess worship and the erosion of faith in scientific process." Lead singer Roddy Walker stated, "This album is nothing to be intellectualized. All talk of wonder, pathos, and optimism aside, I feel it's a very natural progression for us, a natural progression into further obscurity. I am of the belief a lot of the people who work for us were hoping for a stab at a more commercially viable album. However, we wrote what we wanted without linear boundaries and created something less commercial than ever. Some fans of the band will hate it, and some people who hate the band will love it. All others can rot." Fortress debuted at number 95 on the US Billboard Top 200 chart with first week sales of 7,600 copies. Also managing number 10 spot on the Billboard Top Independent Album chart. In Canada, the album achieved number 1 status the first week of its release. Dream Theater drummer Mike Portnoy named this album one of his favorite albums of 2008 on his official webpage. Fortress, like its predecessor Kazaya, achieved universal acclaim with high regards from many major publications, receiving a comprehensive score of 86 on Metacritic, making it the 12th best reviewed album on the site for 2008. Personnel featured on this record: Roddy Walker on vocals, Luke Hoskin on guitar, piano, and backing vocals, Tim Millar on guitar and piano, Arif, and I apologize, Arif, I don't want to butcher your last name, Arif is on bass and backing vocals, Moe Carlson on drums, Vadim Prutsanov appears on keyboards on the track Limb from Limb, Dan Fila is on additional percussion, Julius Juice Buddy is producer and does some backing vocals. And Michael, with that said, let's go ahead and dive into our track-by-track analysis. We're going to kick things off within the first movement of the record, titled On Conquest and Capture. We kick things off with track number 1, Bloodmeat. What you got on this?
I'll start out with the plays. This is Protest Zero's most popular song. Almost 9 million plays.
Wow.
And it deserves it.
Totally agree.
Here. First thing to throw at you. That amazing opening riff that grips you immediately.
Totally. It's controlled chaos in the best way.
And the transitions throughout the song is so smooth and amazing, because there's just like change and then like 30 seconds later change.
Yeah, it's amazing how many transitions they squeeze into these songs when, the average length is probably like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, the average length is like 4 minutes.
Pretty crazy.
And then just once you hear the song all the way through once, and you hear the vocalist like mimicking the opening riff, you never forget that.
Yeah, dude. Yes. That's one of my favorite parts of the song, for sure.
Just an amazing song, amazing riffs, amazing drum work, and amazing vocal work.
Yeah, I know that you are familiar with their latest record, Palimpsest, and there is in my opinion, a marked difference between the way Roddy sings on that as compared to how he was singing on this. Very big difference. Crazy stuff. This song wastes no time getting into the chaotic math metal riffs of Luke Hoskin and Tim Millar. Moe Carlson's drums are thunderous. His fills are ferocious and fast. In fact, the transitions on this song happen at breakneck speed and are executed flawlessly. Arif's bass work has a bit of a funk feel to it. Roddy Walker's vocals have a certain theatrical whimsy to them. He delivers these big, soaring vocal melodies, almost reminiscent of Judas Priest frontman Rob Halford or Iron Maiden frontman Bruce Dickinson. The section that comes in around the 1 minute 23 second mark has some very technical guitar work that breaks briefly into these very mathy, thrashy parts where Roddy uses his screaming vocals to duplicate the jerky rhythms. Fun stuff. It's one of my favorite parts of the song by far. They come out of this section with a heavy thud and Roddy getting into a deep guttural growl. The chorus sections feel absolutely epic. At the 2 minute 59 second mark, they get into this really huge stadium anthem sounding section. It sounds like victory. Roddy delivers the big melodic vocal melody over the top. Then around the 3 minute 32 second mark, we get a drop into a filthy halftime breakdown to carry us out. Just a epic song. This song is written entirely about the brutal empire expansion of Genghis Khan. Lyrically, it deals with the absolute terror, mass bloodshed, and destruction his hordes brought across Asia, framed through the lens of a historical conqueror dismantling older cultures. Roddy Walker's soaring, heroic performance on this song almost didn't happen. The band pushed the technical boundaries so far on Fortress that Roddy tracking these insane vocal lines caused severe agonizing acid reflux that actively burned his vocal cords during the studio sessions. He had to completely alter his diet, lifestyle, and vocal technique on the fly just to survive the recording process of this track. Crazy stuff, Michael. Michael, have you got anything else on Bloodmeat?
I do not have anything else.
All right. So we'll move on then to track number 2. This is The Dissentients. Michael, what you got on this?
Another amazing riff. You know?
Yes, sir. You talking about how that opening riff just, it feeds or transitions seamlessly out of Bloodmeat right into the opening of this one.
Yes. I love the drum work. An amazing vocal work again. This song has a little bit less transitions than the last one, but it still has a decent amount of transitions, you know?
Yeah, it's, again, one of those things where I'm consistently blown away by how many transitions they fit into these. They're shorter songs than a regular prog band would do. You know, prog band would fit, 25 transitions in a 13-minute song, and these guys are squeezing 15 in a 3.5-minute song. It's insane. What else you got, buddy?
I'm letting you go.
Okay. Yeah. Like you mentioned, we don't have time to catch our breath as we transition seamlessly out of Bloodmeat into the opening of this one. The opening guitar riffs have a thrash metal feel to them, but there's also a lot of groove coming from Arif's bass work. I'm again going to take my hat off to Carlson's drum work on this song. He weaves between transitions and time changes so effortlessly. His fills are always on point and satisfying. It sounds like there's some added brass instrumentation in the background as we take our twists and turns through the first half of the song. Hoskin and Millar's guitar work is technically precise and chaotic in the best ways. Walker brings his melodic, clean vocals. I'm very impressed with his ability to find space, notes, and melodies for his vocals amidst the swirling math metal soundscapes. At the 2-minute 27-second mark, we transition into a more melodic and sweeping section. Hoskin and Walker put in some really fun lead guitar work here. Around the 3-minute 30-second mark, we transition again into a much denser and heavier section to close out the song. Walker brings in his screams for this section. Fun song. The Dissentients fast forwards to the modern era to explore a different kind of human worship, the media and addiction. The song explicitly criticizes society's obsessive, zombie-like consumption of television, violence, and sensationalized news, exploring how modern corporate structures break down critical thinking and human empathy. The band revealed that the recording of this specific track was fueled by sheer chaotic relaxation. They intentionally kept the studio environment incredibly loose, joking that the dizzying math metal complexity of the Dissentients was laid down while the band was constantly taking smoke breaks to clear their heads from the stress of the arrangements. Michael, have you got anything else on this one?
I like those transitions between like the 2-minute mark and like the 2:30 mark with that riff.
Yes, sir.
And also the riff in between that is amazing.
Totally agree. Out of curiosity, where does that place with Spotify?
It is at 2 million plays. And that would place it in the top 10.
Not bad. Not bad. All right, then. So now we'll move on to track number 3. This is Bone Marrow. Michael, what you got on this?
The opening sounds like something I would hear out of like a Tool song or something, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of got that sort of psychedelic, trippy vibe going on.
Mm-hmm. I love the riff that we get into after that. And the amazing drum work and amazing vocal work on the song. I gotta be honest, this is probably my least favorite song on the record.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Okay. Interesting. Does Spotify agree with your assessment of that?
2 million plays, which would place it like probably right under the threshold for a top 10.
Okay. Not sure I agree. This one has that psychedelic, trippy vibe thing going on to open things up, like you mentioned. Arif's bass line in this intro section is super funky and slinky. It reminds me very much of Les Claypool from Primus. We come out of this intro section into what feels like a more straightforward sounding metal section. Walker brings both his cleans and screams. Despite the fact that the song feels a bit more straightforward, there's still a ton going on with Hoskin and Millar's guitar work. Lots of chaotic, jazzy guitar work. Some dissonant notes are being played. Carlson also deserves a lot of credit for the song. Once again, it's his drums that guide the way for the band. His incredible knack for shifting time is just so smooth. I also want to again mention Arif's bass work on the song. As previously mentioned about the song intro, he's doing some very funky stuff. At times, he's propelling the song forward. Other times, he's bouncing along to the jazzy, chaotic guitar riffs being laid down. Around the 3-minute 17-second mark, the song takes a shift to more of an open section, lots of space. This leads into a big, anthemic, soaring outburst, complete with keyboards creating additional ambiance. At the 4-minute 36-second mark, just when you think the song is coming to a close, we transition into this very pretty piano melody, accompanied by a simple, beautiful acoustic guitar riff. The piano work is stunning and gorgeous. It's a brilliant way to close this one out. Bone Marrow digs into the concept of the witch hunts and the historical execution of female mystics, pagans, and healers by organized religious power structures. The lyrics frame the burning and torture of these women as a desperate attempt by a patriarchal order to completely erase the deep, ancient magic of the earth and the human connection to it. The beautiful, haunting female vocal harmonies layered into the atmospheric section belong to Jada Kelly, a well-known Canadian folk singer-songwriter. The band wanted to represent the literal voice of the divine feminine drifting away at the end of the song, and they brought her into the studio to contrast Roddy's intense operatic range. Pretty cool stuff. Michael, do you have anything else on Bone Marrow?
I do not.
Okay, so that's going to take us into the next movement of the record. It is titled Fortress, and we're going to kick things off on that with track number 4. This is Sequoia Throne. Michael, what you got on this?
I really like this song's riffs and like transitions. And also the vocal work on this song is amazing. Those high notes that is hit.
Yeah, Roddy just belts out some crazy high notes on this.
I liked that riff at the like 150 mark or so for that solo. Oh, that's amazing.
Great stuff.
Yeah, nice and heavy. Just amazing song.
Like this one, huh? Like it better than the last one anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Hoskin and Millar play what sounds like a tapping arpeggio in the opening to this song. As the song kicks into full, Arif's bass line comes in and it immediately starts propelling the song forward. It's an up-tempo bass riff that matches the speed and ferocity of Carlson's drums. Walker's vocals soar over the top of the very heavy guitar work. He shows off some of his range on this one, hitting some killer high notes. Around the halfway point, we get into a brief syncopated breakdown section where the guitars and drums are totally in sync. Around the 1 minute 56 second mark, we take another transition. This time we get into a bit of a old school heavy metal breakdown. Around the 2 minute 23 second mark, the song shifts again, and this time we're in one of my favorite parts of the song. The guitar work feels like a classic heavy metal riff that you might hear from a band like Metallica. It's super melodic. Walker's vocals are in his upper register, and the moment is just epic. This builds into the final anthemic moments of the song. It's such a gorgeous way to bring the song to its close. Just epic. This track is a fierce, poetic critique of the destruction of indigenous cultures, British colonialism, and the systemic looting of sacred native lands. The Sequoia Throne represents the grand majesty of nature and ancient chieftains, which was violently torn down by European settlers to build literal and corporate empires. The band almost didn't make it through the promotional cycle for this single. During the shooting of the hyperkinetic, strobe-lit music video for Sequoia Throne, the band was headbanging so violently to match the speed of Carlson's drums that guitarist Luke Hoskin actually suffered severe, debilitating whiplash and neck muscle spasms that put him out of commission for days. They literally threw their bodies into the performance. Crazy stuff.
Wow.
Awesome way to open up this second movement.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, anything else on Sequoia Throne?
Do not have anything else.
Okay. So now we'll move on then to track number 5. This is Palms Read. What you got on this, Michael?
This is another amazing song with transitions and riffs. I like the riff, like the short very riff, like short riff that happens at like the 2:15 second mark. Just pops up for like a couple of seconds and goes.
Yeah, it's a bass solo from Arif, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And I like the section it gets into next with the ending towards this for the ending of the song technically. For vocals wise.
Pretty epic.
Yeah. And then we get amazing instrumental to end out the song for the last 2 minutes or so. You know?
Definitely an interesting way to close the song out. Sounds very circusy. There's that weird spot that sounds very circusy.
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool song.
And eventful. This is...
Indeed.
The song does make a top 10.
It does make the top 10?
Yep.
Okay. This one opens up with some short burst machine gun drums syncopated with the guitar riffs. From this opening section, we transition into a very cinematic, triumphant section. There's what sounds like synth and or extra strings in the background, making it feel more wide open. This gives way to the first verse. The guitar is sparse through the verse. There's a lot of space being filled by Carlson's drums and Walker's vocals. The more I listen to the song, the more this kind of reminds me of an 80s hair metal song structure. Walker brings his screams in post-chorus. Hoskin and Millar bring some really heavy guitar riffs in the next section. At the 2-minute 18-second mark, Arif goes into a very brief bass solo that's just killer. This song is at its best, though, when it opens up and gives Walker more space to work in vocally, such as the section that begins around the 2-minute 26-second mark. Lots of emotion and power in Walker's vocals, and the music has a triumphant feel to it. The song fades to silence ever briefly around the 3-minute 45-second mark. It sounds like Walker is doing some whispered spoken word stuff, which then gives way to a very heavy, thrashy, proggy section. During this section, we get a weird spot that I mentioned that briefly sounds like it's in a circus. This song is heavily rooted in Irish mythology and the poetry of Robert Graves. It tells the story of the rise and fall of the goddess of the forest, illustrating the moment ancient pagan spirituality was violently overthrown and replaced by cold, calculated, industrialized structures. Regarding the circus-like section I mentioned, the band intentionally wrote that frantic, spinning section to mimic a carnival carousel out of control, representing the chaotic, maddening disorientation of a society losing its spiritual connection to nature and collapsing into synthetic entertainment. Michael, do you have anything else on Palms Read?
I do not have anything else.
Okay. Well, now we will dive into track number 6. This is Limb from Limb. Michael, what you got on this?
Another very good song. I really, really, really like that riff. And there's some very, very good transitions in this song. And the drum work is amazing. And amazing, 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 amazing vocals.
You're a big Roddy Walker guy, aren't you? You just like Roddy in general. Out of curiosity, were you paying attention much to the bass guitar work on this album?
You know, I still haven't figured out how to pick out the bass guitar work as well.
You and I are going to have to sit down with some headphones, and I'm going to point out bass lines to you. They're really easy to pick out if you're not distracted by other things. What else you got?
That's really all I got on this song.
All right, well, we seamlessly transition into the start of this song from the end of the last one. There's a killer head-banging groove to this opening section. I have to take my hat off to Hoskin and Millar for the outstanding guitar work during these verses. Carlson's work on the drum kit is incredible on this also. There's so many sudden, speedy time changes on this song. Arif's bass work is equally impressive. He's the stabilizing force amongst all the math metal chaos of this song. Walker weaves between soaring cleans, screams, and blood-curdling death growls with ease all throughout this song. Around the 2-minute 56-second mark, we get this video game sounding guitar tone, maybe keyboards, though I'm not sure. We get more of this around the 3-minute 20-second mark. At the 3-minute 40-second mark, the song goes into a heavy as hell, groove-laden, halftime breakdown section that carries us to the end. This track acts as the direct, violent aftermath to the previous song. It details the physical and industrial slaughter of nature. The lyrics explicitly mourn the mass clear-cutting of ancient forests, framing the chainsawing of old-growth trees as literally tearing the earth limb from limb for corporate profit. For the video game tone that I mentioned, guitarists Luke Hoskin and Tim Millar utilized digital pitch shifter pedals, specifically the Digitech Whammy, in lightning-fast tapped arpeggios. They were heavily inspired by classic 8-bit Nintendo soundtracks and wanted to create a glitchy, mechanized contrast to Walker's brutal death growls. Fun little anecdote there. Michael, do you have anything else on this one?
I do not.
Okay. So now we will get to track number 7. This is Spoils. What you got on this?
I really like that heroic type guitar riff to open up that song, up this song. You know?
Yeah, it feels really epic.
Yeah. And then there's like so much going on in this song.
Just this one?
No, like there's so much going on this album.
Totally.
But mainly this song, this stands out a lot. Like there's constant switching and everything.
Totally chaotic in a fun way.
Just switch after switch after switch. Like, some of them just don't even have 10 seconds of switch. And we're on to the next one.
Transitioning at breakneck speed.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, this one opens with a bit of keyboard work in the background that accompanies some fantastic guitar work. It just feels wide open and epic. This gives way to a heavier, thrashy section. Hoskin and Millar insert these great, brief runs of notes here and there. Arif's bass line feels very funky and propels the song forward. Carlson is like a house on fire. There's a lot of quick, abrupt changes in this song, and he navigates them deftly. Around the 2-minute 14-second mark, we transition into my favorite part of the song. This section feels anthemic and huge. Walker's vocals soar over the incredible sweeping guitar work. There's some keyboard work in the background that provides extra texture to the epic feel. Around the 3-minute mark, we transition to a gorgeous piano ballad section which carries us out. Spoils targets the modern concept of greed, consumer capitalism, and the erosion of intellectual curiosity. The song argues that humanity has traded meaningful progress, art, and truth for temporary spoils, cheap material goods, vanity, and scientific dogma that lacks a soul. Canadian folk artist Jada Kelly appears on this one, performing alongside a classical grand piano arrangement. The band revealed that they deliberately placed this gorgeous, pristine piece at the end of the heaviest, most frenetic track on the album to symbolize the quiet, tragic beauty of what humanity leaves behind after destroying its environment. Michael, anything else on Spoils?
I do not have anything else.
Okay. So that's going to take us into the final movement of the record, titled Isosceles. And we kick things off on that with track number 8. This is Wretch. Michael, what you got on this?
Another amazing song with the vocals. And the transitions on this song are a little bit less than the others, but still, like, what?
I do that a lot when I listen to Protest the Hero, especially these early albums. It's just, it happens so fast. You're like, what? Wait, huh? What?
Hold on, rewind.
Totally. So the whole time I'm doing my review listens of the record, I'm constantly stopping, backing up 10 seconds, re-listening, stopping, backing up 10 seconds. Just to make sure I'm taking it all in, right?
Mm-hmm. That riff around the 2-minute and 10 mark is amazing.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, it's another amazing song. Protest the Hero does not fail on their creativity.
No, they do not. They're all over it, man. This one goes hard and up-tempo from the outset. This one feels so complex as there's so much going on with the guitar riffs. Things stray into more straightforward hard rock territory for the chorus section. Around the 1-minute 30-second mark, we get into a section that feels a bit like Mastodon. Coming out of this section, we get into a bit of a guitar solo before giving way to an Arabic-sounding section. One of my favorite parts of the song starts around the 2-minute 50-second mark. It's got a very Opeth-feeling groove to it. Arif's bass line is in perfect sync with Carlson's drums. This briefly gives way to a more open-sounding section before taking us right back to the heavy. Walker delivers a tour de force vocal performance on this one. Really fun track. This track dives headfirst into human trafficking, forced labor, and the global exploitation of women. The title Wretch refers to the outcasts, the refugees, and the disenfranchised individuals who are reduced to cogs in a global machine, completely stripped of their basic human rights and agency. The band intentionally pivoted to a Middle Eastern harmonic minor scale for the specific Arabic-sounding sequence I mentioned. Arif wanted the music to mirror the global, international scope of the crisis being described in the lyrics, stepping away from traditional Western metal scales to create a jarring, exotic sonic shift. And he accomplished it perfectly. Michael, do you have anything else on Wretch?
I do not.
Okay. Well, that's going to take us to the penultimate track on the record. This is track number 9, Goddess Bound. What you got on this?
Another good song. And the vocal range that is showed off on this song is amazing. He drops down, drops up, jumps up. Why am I... just amazing.
Good stuff.
Yes, amazing. There's just not enough I can say. Just the amount of change and so much that happens throughout this whole record is just crazy.
It feels like it could be a longer record, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much happening on it. Every once in a while they'll make one of those transitions and you want it to last a little longer, but it only lasts like 10 seconds and they're off to the next one. But they'll do something really cool for like that 10 seconds. You're like, no, keep going. This song feels a bit thrashy due to Carlson's very thrashy drum work in the verse sections. Walker bounces back and forth between his clean and harsh vocals. There's a transition into a classical metal guitar section like Yngwie Malmsteen, which features some big vocal moments for Walker. I love the tapping guitar riffs that are featured at several points in this song. Around the 1 minute 43 second mark, we transition into a very power metal-like section. When we come out of that section, we transition into a little section that reminds me a bit of Mastodon. Around the 2 minute 46 second mark, we get into some killer Hoskin and Millar guitar shredding. The speed and precision on the tapping runs is really impressive. This song serves as a metaphor for the institutional imprisonment of nature, intuition, and female autonomy. The lyrics illustrate the goddess being physically tied down, restricted, and forced into submission by the strict, unyielding laws of the new patriarchy. The atmosphere inside the recording studio was pure, unadulterated nerd culture. Frontman Roddy Walker, an outspoken die-hard sci-fi fanatic, revealed that to cope with the extreme mental exhaustion of recording these demanding vocal takes, the band filled the studio with Star Wars memorabilia and constantly took breaks to argue about the lore just to keep their brains from melting from the complexity of the music. Fun fact. Michael, you got anything else on Goddess Bound?
I do not.
All right. So that's going to take us to the final track on the record. This is track number 10, Goddess Gagged. What you got on this, Michael?
Amazing song. I don't know how much, I don't know what to say. I feel like I've said it all, over and over again. I just really don't know what to say. It's just very, very good. I feel like I've expressed everything I could express throughout.
It's just, to summarize, it's chaos. Controlled chaos. And it's just perfect how they're able to arrange their controlled chaos.
Yeah.
The opening to this song feels like the climactic music at the end of a cinematic journey. This gives way to a very thrashy section as the first verse kicks in. Carlson includes a bit of halftime drumming at points, which creates a brief but heavy as hell feeling breakdown. Walker brings his soaring cleans and contributes screams as needed. The chorus feels big and very melodic. There's an introduction of a choir of voices around the halfway point that makes the song feel even more epic. Around the 2 minute 30 second mark, we get into a very proggy breakdown. The song's final seconds are a chaotic metal run to the end, a perfect way to close out the journey of this record. Goddess Gagged represents the total silencing of truth, ancient wisdom, and the voice of the earth. Silencing the goddess means humanity has fully chosen a world of cold industrialization, greed, and superficiality. The track warns that by completely gagging this spiritual truth, humanity has essentially sealed its own destructive fate. The sheer intensity of the soaring vocal parts on Goddess Gagged and the rest of the album took such a physical toll on Roddy Walker that during the band's 10-year Fortress anniversary tour, his vocal cords completely gave out near the tail end of the run. The album is so notoriously difficult to sing live that he had to go on strict vocal rest and undergo extensive therapy just to heal his voice for their next record. Michael, do you have anything else on Goddess Gagged?
I do not.
All right. Well, that's going to take us to our final thoughts and our overall album ratings out of 5. Michael, let's go ahead and get your final thoughts and your rating.
Amazing album. It had one song that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I still think it deserves a 5.
Gonna give it a 5 despite one song not working for you. Still seeing the perfection.
Yes.
For me, I still remember the first time I heard Bloodmeat. It was on an episode of MTV's Headbangers Ball. I remember being mesmerized by Roddy Walker's vocal performance. I remember my mind being melted by the controlled chaos and mathematical genius of Luke Hoskin and Tim Millar. I immediately purchased a copy of the album, and my love for Protest the Hero really blossomed from there. It's insanely difficult to try to verbally describe what's happening on these songs. The band squeezed in so damn many transitions into these 3.5-minute songs that it just feels impossible to catch your breath, much less gather your thoughts. I've described the music as chaotic several times, and I truly feel like this is the best descriptor. But it's also not without structure. Moe Carlson on the drum kit and Arif on bass are the key ingredients to holding this thing together. They are the not-so-secret sauce on this album. I personally cannot fathom the amount of concentration and precision it takes to navigate through the insane amount of time changes and transitions in these songs, but Carlson handles them so deftly and skillfully. Arif's bass work carries a lot of the rhythmic backbone of these songs, allowing Hoskin and Millar to contribute their fast and precise guitar leads. How the hell Roddy Walker was able to find the space and the notes to put his vocals over some of these songs is a remarkable feat of its own. His vocal melodies and deliveries are just as manic and chaotic as the music itself, rapidly moving between crisp cleans, soaring melodies, and blood-curdling screams, and making it sound so effortless. Every time I listen to this record, it leaves me breathless and my heart pounding. It's a amazing journey every time. Fortress is a masterpiece, and it gets a 5 out of 5 from me. And that's gonna take us to our question for the audience. What is your favorite track on Fortress, and why? All right, Michael, now we're gonna get into our next segment. This is Can't Wait. New music coming soon. Michael, what's on your list?
I see 2.
Just 2?
Maybe 3.
So on July 17th, there's a couple of big records for both Michael and I. Loathe drops their new record, A Stranger to You, and Protest the Hero drops their new record, Within. I assume that's 2 of your 3, Michael?
Yep.
Recently announced, Haken drops their new EP, In a Fever Dream. I assume that's number 3 for you, Michael?
Yep.
Also on September 18th, Nonpoint drops their new record, The Last Word. And on October 2nd, Cartoon Theory drops their new record, Ephemeral Dance. July 17th is going to be a big day, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else from you before we move on?
Nope.
All right. So we'll jump right to our final segment. This is Michael's journey, discovering a song from the past. And this time, we're going to get Michael's thoughts on Pat Benatar's Heartbreaker. When Pat Benatar first signed her record deal, her label wanted her to be a pop singer. She hated it. She was in the studio trying to force a soft rock sound that didn't fit her. It wasn't until she heard Neil Giraldo play the aggressive, driving guitar intro to Heartbreaker that everything clicked. She famously said that the moment she heard that heavy guitar riff, she finally found the exact hard rock sound she'd been searching for. It literally defined her entire career trajectory. Neil Giraldo composed the blistering closing solo on the spot during his very first audition for Pat's band. He wanted to blend classic rock and roll blues with a modern aggressive edge to match the power of her classical trained voice. The chemistry was so instantaneous that he didn't just get the gig, he became her primary songwriter, producer, and eventually became her husband. Heartbreaker was released through Pat's debut studio album In the Heat of the Night in 1979. It was originally written and composed by Jeff Gill and Cliff Wade. The song had been first recorded by English singer Jenny Darren on her 1978 album Queen of Fools, and Benatar adjusted the original lyrics, as such references as A to Z and Moonraker would have likely confused American listeners. Heartbreaker was the second single released off of the record, after If You Think You Know How to Love Me failed to reach the US Billboard Hot 100. Heartbreaker was a sleeper hit and proved to be Benatar's breakthrough single, reaching number 23 on the Hot 100 while spending 4.5 months on the chart, the fourth longest of all of her singles. It was more popular on album-oriented rock stations as it peaked at number 13 on Tunecaster's Rock Tracks chart in March 1980. The song reached number 16 in Canada, number 14 in New Zealand, and number 95 in Australia. VH1 ranked the song the 72nd best hard rock song of all time. Featured musicians on the song, we've got Pat Benatar on vocals, Neil Giraldo on lead guitar, keyboards, slide guitar, backup vocals, Scott St. Clair Sheets on guitars, Roger Capps on bass and backing vocals, and Glenn Alexander Hamilton on drums. And Michael, with that little bit of background out of the way, what did you think about this song?
If you don't know the song, where have you been for the past... When did you say this song
almost
came
40
out?
years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1979.
Yeah, where have you been?
Actually, almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where have you been? Are you Patrick the Star? Are you living under a rock? This song's amazing. 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 There's not much more I can say about it. It's just amazing.
What do you think about Pat Benatar's vocals?
Amazing vocals.
She's got a crazy range.
Mm.
Yeah. Pat Benatar, for my money, has one of the most instantly recognizable voices in all of rock music. Heartbreaker stands out for me as one of the heaviest songs in her repertoire. The song opens up with drums from Glenn Alexander Hamilton before quickly giving way to a driving, syncopated guitar and bass riff. Pat Benatar's vocals in the verse have a bit of angst to them. She then brings in some higher notes in the sub-chorus. In the chorus, the drums go halftime as Benatar angrily belts out the lyrics. Her vocal melody is simple but memorable and hooky as hell. Neil Giraldo and Scott St. Clair Sheets' guitar riff sounds heavy, and it delivers an angry exclamation point to Benatar's pointed vocal melodies. Coming out of the bridge section, Benatar brings her falsetto in an almost a cappella section that feels epic. Giraldo gets a tasty guitar solo at the end of the song. Heartbreaker is a killer hard rock song that proved that Pat Benatar could hang with the boys. Michael, let's get your rating out of 5 on this one.
5.
Perfect score from Michael on this, and a perfect score for the show.
If you had to give a score, what would you give?
Oh, it gets a 5. Yeah, no doubt. This is one of my absolute favorite Pat Benatar songs. Absolutely. Have you ever heard anything else from Pat Benatar, Michael?
I do believe.
Okay. Well, let me rephrase then. Would you listen to other Pat Benatar songs?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great stuff. All right, Michael. Up next for you on your journey, we're going to check out Mike and the Mechanics, The Living Years. And for our main topic on our next episode, we're going to be discussing Dream Theater's 1992 release, Images and Words. And with that said, we want to hear from you. We will read your emails and messages on the show. We have only one request: keep them clean. There are several ways to contact us. You can email us at lightmovepod@gmail.com. You can also reach us on several social media platforms such as Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. Details on how to connect with us are in the show notes. We are part of the SPDM Crew Podcast Network. Check out all of the podcasts on the network by visiting spdmcrew.com.
If you like the show, subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform and share with your friends and family. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and a variety of other platforms. We're also on YouTube. Can't find us on your chosen platform? Shoot us a message and let us know. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This helps us be found in the algorithm. Make them good and we'll read them on the air. Are you in a band and you'd like for us to check you out and possibly drop a recommendation on the show? Shoot us a message. We'd love to check you out and give you a shout. We'd like to thank you very much for listening to the Leitmotif and Movement Podcast.
Take care and enjoy music.